small diner sits on the corner of a quiet street. The neon sign flickers, casting a soft glow onto the pavement. Inside, the hum of conversation and clinking dishes fill the air. Lisa moves quickly between tables, balancing a tray of steaming coffee cups. Her uniform is slightly worn, the soles of her shoes nearly smooth from years of wear. But she doesn't complain. She smiles at every customer, making them feel welcome. She wipes her forehead, exhaustion creeping in, but there's still more work to do. The bills are piling up, and tips aren't always great. Still, she keeps going. The doorbell chimes. A man steps inside. He wears a simple hoodie and a cap pulled low over his face. He walks toward a corner booth, sitting quietly, scanning the menu. He doesn't look like the usual customers. Something about him feels different. Lisa approaches with her notepad. "Good evening, can I get you started with something to drink?" The man looks up. His eyes are kind but distant. "Just coffee, please." Lisa nods and turns to get his order. She doesn't know that this stranger is about to change her life forever. Lisa brings the steaming cup of coffee to the man's table, setting it down carefully. "Here you go. Let me know if you need anything else." The man nods, his hands wrapping around the cup. "Thank you." His voice is calm, almost familiar, but Lisa doesn't think much of it. She moves back to the counter, refilling sugar containers and checking on other tables. The night is slow, with only a few customers left. The man watches her as she moves. He notices the way she works, tired but still smiling, polite despite the long hours. After a few minutes, he calls her over again. "Can I get the special?" Lisa scribbles the order on her notepad. "Of course, it'll be out in just a few minutes." She walks to the kitchen, placing the order. When she returns, the man is still sitting quietly, staring out the window. Lisa hesitates for a moment. Then she speaks. "Are you from around here?" The man shakes his head. "Not anymore. I used to be." Lisa tilts her head. "Really? When?" "A long time ago," he says simply, taking a sip of his coffee. She doesn't press further. Instead, she gives him a small smile before heading to check on another table. A few minutes later, she returns with his meal. "Here you go. Enjoy." He thanks her and starts eating in silence. Lisa continues working, wiping down tables and chatting briefly with the remaining customers. Every now and then, she glances at the man. Something about him feels familiar, but she can't figure out why. As he finishes his meal, he places his fork down and reaches into his pocket. He pulls out a stack of bills, placing them under the receipt. Then, he quietly stands up, adjusting his cap. Lisa doesn't notice at first. She's too busy cleaning up another table. The man takes one last look around the diner before heading to the door. As he steps outside, the cold air hits him. He pulls his hood up and disappears into the night. Back inside, Lisa finally walks over to clear the table. She picks up the receipt, and then her breath catches in her throat. Lisa stares at the receipt in disbelief. Her hands tremble as she lifts the stack of bills left behind. The total for the meal was barely $10, but the tip, hundreds of dollars, maybe more. Her heart pounds as she counts. 100, 200, 3. She stops at 500, her fingers shaking. "Lisa?" A coworker's voice pulls her back to reality. She turns, wide-eyed. I think this is a mistake." Her coworker, Jenna, walks over and gasps. "No way. Who left that?" Lisa swallows hard, glancing toward the door. "The guy who was sitting here, the one in the hoodie." Jenna whistles. "Must have been some rich guy. You should run after him." Lisa hesitates. Her eyes dart toward the window, searching the dark street outside, but he's already gone. She clutches the money tightly, struggling to process what just happened. Was it a joke, a mistake? No one ever tips like this. Not here. Not in this tiny diner. Her manager walks by and notices her stunned expression. "Something wrong?" Lisa shows him the money, her voice unsteady. "A customer left this as a tip." His eyebrows shoot up. "Well, looks like you just hit the jackpot." But Lisa isn't smiling. Something about this doesn't feel like luck. She bites her lip, still gripping the bills. "I don't know. What if he left it by accident? What if he didn't mean to?" Her manager shrugs. "A guy who leaves $500 on the table isn't doing it by mistake." Jenna nods. "Yeah, rich people do this kind of thing sometimes. Maybe he just wanted to help." Lisa glances at the money again. It doesn't feel real. She looks around the diner, as if expecting the man to come back. But the door stays shut. She slips the money into her apron pocket, her mind spinning. Should she keep it? Try to find him? One thing is clear. Whoever he was, he didn't want to be recognized. Lisa takes a deep breath and turns back to work. But as she moves through the diner, the unease in her chest lingers. She's grateful, overwhelmed, but also, deep down, a question keeps nagging at her. Who was he? And why does she feel like she's seen him before? Days pass, but Lisa can't stop thinking about the man. The money still feels unreal, tucked away in an envelope in her tiny apartment. She hasn't spent a single dollar of it. Every time she touches it, a wave of doubt washes over her. Was it really meant for her? She replays that night in her head over and over. His voice, his eyes, the way he looked at her, like he knew something she didn't. But no matter how much she thinks about it, she can't place him. One evening, after another long shift, she collapses onto her couch, exhausted. She pulls out an old shoebox from under her coffee table, the one filled with childhood memories. Inside are faded photos, old letters, and a few keepsakes from a time that feels like another lifetime. She flips through the pictures, smiling at the younger version of herself. A little girl with bright eyes, running barefoot in the summer sun. Then she stops. Her fingers freeze over a worn-out photo, edges curled from years of handling. It's a group picture, kids from the neighborhood, a mix of laughter and silly poses. And there, standing slightly apart, is a boy. Lisa leans in, heart pounding. His face, there's something familiar. The shape of his eyes, the quiet expression. A memory floods back. She was 7 years old. It was a hot summer afternoon. She'd been sitting alone on the curb outside her house, watching the other kids play. Her family was struggling, and she didn't have much, not even lunch that day. Then a boy walked up to her. He was dressed nicer than the other kids, his clothes clean, his shoes new. Without a word, he sat down beside her and handed her half of his sandwich. She had stared at him, confused. Why? He had shrugged. You look hungry. Lisa blinks, gripping the photo tightly. Could it be? Could the quiet, generous man from the diner be the same boy from her childhood? Her hands shake as she reaches for her phone. She doesn't even know his name. She never did, but she remembers the kindness in his eyes, and she remembers the way he disappeared back then, just like he had at the diner. She swallows hard. If it really is him, then he didn't just help her once, he helped her twice. Lisa can't sleep. The thought won't leave her mind. Could the stranger who left her that life-changing tip really be the same boy who once shared his lunch with her? She needs to know. Grabbing her phone, she starts searching. She doesn't have much to go on, just a blurry memory and an old childhood photo. But something inside her tells her she's right. She types, "Wealthy entrepreneur returns to town." Dozens of results pop up. She scrolls past business articles and headlines about CEOs. Nothing stands out. Then she freezes. One article catches her eye. Self-made billionaire spotted in hometown after years away. Her heart pounds as she clicks on the link. A recent photo loads on the screen, and there he is. It's him, the man from the diner. The same quiet eyes, the same familiar face, just older. Lisa's hands shake as she scrolls through the article. His name is Ethan Carter. A successful investor, known for his philanthropy. Grew up in a struggling neighborhood, left town as a teenager. Her breath catches. It's him. It has to be. She keeps reading. Ethan Carter has been quietly donating to local charities, focusing on helping struggling families. Sources say he prefers to remain anonymous. Lisa's head spins. He didn't just tip her out of kindness. He must have recognized her. The realization makes her chest tighten. He remembered her after all these years. He saw her working hard, just like she always had, and he chose to help, just like he did when they were kids. She leans back, staring at the ceiling, overwhelmed. What now? Should she reach out to him? Thank him? But what if he doesn't want to be found? She debates for hours, pacing around her tiny apartment. Then she makes a decision. If he remembered her, if he went out of his way to help her again, she won't let this go unnoticed. She grabs a piece of paper and starts writing. Dear Ethan, I don't know if you meant for me to recognize you. Maybe you wanted to stay anonymous. But I remember you. I remember the boy who sat beside me when I had nothing. I remember the kindness you showed me when no one else did. And now, years later, you've done it again. You changed my life with that tip. But it's not just about the money. It's about knowing that kindness like yours still exists. I don't know if you'll ever read this, but if you do, thank you. From the girl who never forgot. She folds the letter, tucks it into an envelope, and writes his name on it. She doesn't know if she'll ever get the chance to give it to him. But deep down, she hopes that somehow, in some way, he'll know.